When it comes to changing the height, remember we had many pre-drilled holes in the pole where the lift arm is connected to. And we are supposed to put a big bolt that is included in the package right through here to get the right height. Then there are 3 bolts in the top here. They should be loose until you have decided which height. Once you have decided the right height, you put, of course, the main bolt straight through, tighten it, and then you tighten these 3. These 3 are there to give the lift stability, to make it not wiggle. And I know that even if you have a quite tall, a long one, you can use these to adjust it a little bit sideways so that it maybe moves a little bit swayed. So you can try that once you try to install it, and you need that extra few millimeters to make it pass something. Then you can use these to adjust it with. But they are there for another reason. It's just to give it stability. And now let's take a look at the installation of the Carolift 40. The Carolift 40 is of course a little bit more simple to install since it doesn't have power rotation, and it is always equipped with the universal bracket since we don't make any specific brackets for the 40 kilo crane. But there are a few tips or hints that I can tell you about installation. For example, if we look at the base, it is delivered with 2 separate long bars, silver colored. To find a good spot to bolt them into the chassis, I suppose that you know this better than I do, and if you don't, I will try to explain it, because some of the floors in the cars today are quite weak. And to find good rigid spots where the steel is strong and stable, I suggest that you look for connections between different steel plates. For instance, where the floor meets the rear. If you could come close to that, there's normally a big stability right there. And if we imagine a car corner here, normally we have a tail light sitting here. And the steel outside comes meeting up with the tail light here. Right underneath the tail light, in the corner, we have a good rigid spot where there are many steel plates meeting up with each other. So here, in this corner, this is not good installed, so to speak, because this bar here can easily be slided further in this direction to find a good spot to bolt it in. Of course, you have to drill in the chassis to bolt it in, definitely. You can cut them if you like to, but I suggest that you try to make them as long as possible, because that is making it much stronger. Right behind, if I fold it like this, I think you can see a bolt coming up here. And that bolt is not there for show only. You see, this corner on this base plate is quite critical when it comes to lifting 40 kilos inside the car. So if you skip that or miss that for a reason, the lift will easily wiggle downwards when you lift 40 kilos inside the car. In this case, the crane has been mounted so that you can fold it down this way. But of course, you can twist this platform over and fold it inwards instead. No doubt about it. And when it comes to decide where to install it in the car, I suggest that you don't have this positioned on the plate when you do that. It is removed from the beginning, so you put the legs together, bolt it loosely into the base plate, locate it as close into the corner as possible. Install the bolts and screws, and then with 3 bolts you attach it to the base plate. And then, because of the banana-shaped holes and the long holes in the bracket here, you can now slide it around to find the best spot where it doesn't hit anything inside the car. That makes it very easy when it comes to installing. You should look through the manual and make sure that you do this right with all those bolts that is meant for it and tighten in the right way or like that. So even if I'm telling you, don't think you can do this without looking in the manual, because it is quite important. One other thing that is important, that is that you teach your customers after you have installed it, that it has to be laying down during traveling. You see, that could be quite harmful or even dangerous to have it up like this, because this part here weighs quite much. It is a steel bar, quite thick, and it's a big motor sitting in the end that could easily hurt somebody quite bad when you brake. So make sure that your customer understand that they need to fold it. If you have to make it shorter, you see today this is full length, it is quite long or tall. So some cars with a very sloping luggage opening can sometimes be used of having a shorter one. The easiest way would be to lift it up and cut a piece of the pipe off. But at the end here, there is a large Teflon bearing to make it easy to swivel it with a heavy weight on it. So if you cut the pipe here, you will lose the bearing, and then it will be tough to rotate it. So instead of doing that, you put it back in, you take away that sprint, and then take away the plug, find the right height where it's supposed to be. You drill a new hole, put the bolt in again, and then cut it off. You can use that plastic cover here to put it back in the pipe after you have cut it. And you should paint it a little bit, because it will start to rust after you have cut it, since it's zinc treated to not rust. I will also tell you something that I'm not suggesting it, but we know that sometimes customers have a problem to reach this button here, especially if they are in a wheelchair by themselves. You see, this is not rocket science at all. The switch itself is only pushed into the hole here. So with only my nails, I could easily lift it up. And it is okay to put these cables together and take this cable, route it another way, and put the switch maybe in the chassis somewhere, or on the floor where it's reachable. There is one piece missing on this lift, because this is an early version. There is normally a thermal resistor sitting underneath here. That thermal resistor is there to prevent you from lifting too much. Since the motor is consuming too much current, it will also create heat inside that thermal resistor, and it will automatically cut off the power. It will cool down after it has cut the power and become active again, so to speak, so that the motor is running all right. But it's good to know also that it's normally sitting underneath here. And if you find a Carolift 40 that doesn't have it, there is a TSB, a technical service bulletin on dealer web, where you can find both the article number and how to install it. So please update all the Carolift 40s that you find that doesn't have it. Otherwise, the cable itself is quite long, and in the manual they say that you can install a cigarette plug in the other end of the cable. And of course, if you have a power outlet in the luggage compartment, why not use it? This lift doesn't consume any current at all when it's not in use, which means that it could be active all the time. So if you find a power outlet, you know, these small cigarette plug looking power outlets, then just install the cigarette plug on the other end here. And you can plug it in and out anytime. And it's a fast installation. Remember that. That is something that earns money for both you and your customer.